This is the Be the Solution podcast, and I am your host, Maria Quattrone. And today we have on friend and guest, Elisha Lopez. Elisha is an accomplished real estate broker and instructor. She's celebrated for her entrepreneurial skills and leadership in the real estate industry. As the owner of a Realty World franchise in Ocala, Florida, Elisha runs the business with her husband and 50 plus agents. They recently earned the title of the best real estate business in Central Florida on WKMG CBS's Orlando, the best of Central Florida. She's the go-to broker news stations rely on for real estate market insights. Additionally, she shares her motivational message as a 10x speaker, captivating audience with her talk, Activate Your Happy Bubble. Elisha Lopez, welcome to the Be the Solution podcast.
Hi.
I'm so happy to have you back.
It's been way too long.
A couple years since you've been on.
It's been a while, right?
Yeah, it's been a while. Pandemic. So we had a few years. It's been going on. This has been going on for, been a while now. It's 4 years. Not quite.
Yeah. So awesome. I'm so proud of you. And, most don't stick to it. And you have definitely stuck to it and been doing it so well. So I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. Still rocking and rolling. I'm excited to speak with you today. I know that you did the TED Talk, and I want to dive right in. And I want to know and learn about what you did, how it's changed your life, and what it meant to you.
Gosh, yeah. So TEDx, right? When everyone hears that, you're like, TED Talk? Like what? And it was surreal. I mean, it was life-changing, surreal. It pushed me to limits and breath inside me that I never in a million years even thought I had in me. And I mean, it's definitely not an easy, how would I say, like an easy thing to do. It looks easy, but I love speaking, and like our business coach, right, Chet Black, he had seen so many years ago, it's like 4 or 5 years ago, had saw something in me and was like, you got to go and you got to speak. And I was like, what? Me? No. Right? You've been there.
I was there.
Right? And after I did it, I was like, wow, that was an adrenaline rush like no other, to be that nervous to speak in a room full of so many important people and then do it, and that everybody just like actually like clapped and was like, whoa, right? You're like, whoa, so maybe I do have something to say that people want to listen to. And so that kind of sparked in me that many years ago to continue on that ride of speaking, and like all these opportunities would just kind of fall in front of me. Obviously I was doing the right things, and so those opportunities, and paying attention, so those opportunities come. And a couple years ago, a good friend of mine that I work with in the community, who runs our local Ocala TEDx, she was like, you should do a TED Talk. And I'm like, no, like I'm not that person. But it kept sitting in my head, and we all have a story, and I've always wanted to share my story because I felt like what I go through, that we all go through, we all have a story to share, and people need to hear it because it gives so much encouragement. And really, if we encourage one person, we did our job. That's really what it's all about. And another year passed, and I was like, oh. And my friend Manel Fakori, who runs Ocala TEDx, she's like, wish you really need to try out for TEDx. And I'm like, no, like every excuse in the book. But it got to the point where, okay, I have to do this, because just like at that time when Chet Black was like, I knew he saw something in me I hadn't yet seen in myself, that Manel was seeing something in me as well that I have not seen in myself. So I had to stop resisting it and just dive in head first. So I did, and I tried out, and I got accepted, and here came speech writing time. Like I thought I knew what I wanted to talk about, but as you go through this process of writing your talk, you have your outline, you have like all these things, like I'm going to say this, I said, once you like put it on paper and start working with somebody, how does this sound? And obviously you realize like, this doesn't make sense. Like it makes sense sometimes in your head, but it like to share with the world, it doesn't quite make that much sense. So going through that process of writing it and like memorizing a speech is completely different than you and I right now talking. Like I could, we could talk all day because we have knowledge about what we talk about and we know that our heart's the right place. We want to help people, but to memorize a speech, like that challenge for me just took me to a whole other place. And I mean, I'm so grateful for it. Like I honestly wanted to quit like 100 times. Like, and I would concoct a plan, like, how do I get out of this? The crazy thoughts in the head would try to talk me out of it constantly. I mean, really up until like the day of the talk, even rehearsal, I was messing up. I mean, to the point that people would think like, she's not going to be able to do this for the real deal. And, I did it. Like I did it. I didn't forget my words. I mean, it was amazing. And I still, like, I was like, why did everybody stand up and clap? Because, right, we're like our biggest critic ever. And after the whole thing, like, the audience stood up, they were clapping and like cheering, all these things. And I'm just there like, yeah, thank you. And I'm thinking, why are they clapping? Right? Because we judge so much of what we do. Like we don't really think what we're doing has purpose sometimes. Or like, what's that, the whole imposter syndrome thing? Well, I mean, it really is a real thing. And it wasn't until I watched it when it finally posted on YouTube and I actually got to watch it, I was like, oh, okay, so maybe it wasn't so bad. I mean, and I had technical difficulties for my mic. I had like a little turtleneck and my mic was on my turtleneck. So my chin kept tapping the mic, which, it was one of those things nobody thought of until it was too late. So you would hear like the little tap tap and the muffling and all these things that it just played really well into my talk, which is actually called How to Activate Your Happy Bubble. And you know me well enough to know that I like to stay in my happy bubble as much as possible. And I don't like people trying to pop my happy bubble because, right, like life is hard enough and it's all mindset. So it was interesting for sure. But as crazy as it is, I would do it all over again.
So I want to unpack some of this and go back for a minute. So tell me about, first of all, you had an audition. So let's talk about the audition. What happened there?
Well,
what did you do?
You fill out the application and then you have to record a video of yourself talking about your talk and what it is and why your story would impact others. So
you send this video in?
Yeah.
Okay. So you send the video in, they choose you.
Mm-hmm.
So now, how long did it take you from the time that you got chosen to the time that you actually did it? And what did you have to do to prepare for it? And how did you come up with writing your speech and then memorizing it?
Like my speech was a completely different name. It was, it was similar to what my talk was about protecting yourself really from all the craziness of the outside world and perception on those things. But what I like, the outline I turned in, everything that I used, to turn in, that I had this idea of how I would look on stage, what I would talk about, all the different points. As I started to work with we had a mentor that was assigned to us. Each speaker would get a mentor to help you, go through it and coach you through it. And they've either been there before or, they've done something with the TED Talk that they understand, like how they're supposed to be to help you through it. And as I would get coached on this, I was realizing I've been going about this all wrong, but so like that's okay, because that's just part of the process that we have to go through to get to that final day, to be on stage and stand on that red dot. And life happens while you're preparing for your TED Talk. Like you can't stop life. You can't stop. We have 3 teenagers. You can't stop 3 teenagers from being 3 teenagers, while you're like, mom's preparing for a TED talk. You know how big this is? Like, they don't care that mom's gonna do a TED talk. When they're older, they might be like, look what my mom did, right? But right now, they don't care. It's still just mom and life, and you have your business, you have your family, your marriage, like all these things. So life continues to happen, and you're memorizing, preparing for one of the biggest moments so far in your life. So it was crazy. And we were in the middle of moving. We've been building a new home for 2 years now, and our new construction, it was finally done, and it just happens to finish right when I'm like a month away, 4 weeks away from my talk. Like, really, all this time wasted. I mean, not wasted, but all this time, and now, so life will continue to happen. And it was really just perfect because, well, we both have a friend in common, Catherine. And she always be like, don't, stay in your happy bubble. Stay in your happy bubble. And then I had said that to my coach for the talk. I'm like, I'm just like, I can't let all this stuff pop my happy bubble. And they're like, that's it. That's the name of your speech. Like, all this time, like, that's it. That's you, Elisha. And I was like, oh, yes, that is me. So it took all of that just to get to that point where that's even the name of the talk. And it's just crazy how it all pans out, but it's crazy.
How much work was it to write the speech?
A lot. Because so then you say, you know what, I got Chat GPT. Like, oh, I got this. No, you don't. Because Chat GPT, we all know, will help you. Like, what's the word, or how do I say this different? I mean, maybe it's more advanced now, but when I started, like, it's not you. And authenticity is number one. And so if you're not authentic, people will feel that. And I was like, okay, well, that's not going to work. I can't even rewrite this stuff because it's so not me. And so I would say I went through months of rewriting and starting over. And I'm like, so this is what people do, like when they're writing a book, and what is it, like, their memoir, like whatever it is, and you just constantly starting over and over. But it's like all those tries, you're getting somewhere. It just doesn't feel like it. And I did not feel like I was getting anywhere, to be honest with you. I literally planned my escape 20, 30 times. I'm like, what am I thinking? Like, what in the world was I thinking to go and stand on that red dot? Like, I'm not Mel Robbins, right? I mean, like, that's my all-time favorite TED Talk ever is Mel Robbins. Like, I fell in love with her watching that TED Talk. And so I'm like, what am I doing?
She's pretty amazing.
Yeah, no, I mean, right? And I was like, what am I doing? But I had to remember that somehow, so like, I'm supposed to be here, because if I wasn't supposed to be, God would have not, God wouldn't put me here. So, Elisha, pick up your big girl panties, like, do what you gotta do. And you're gonna go have a talk on activating your happy bubble. You better activate your happy bubble. And it's all about, whatever life throws at you, that you're able to stay in that space of peace, which is hard. And so I think my own journey of my own happy bubble was really started after the talk, than more, like even more after than before.
So you learned, you taught yourself something.
Oh yeah, because like what I thought, like, oh, stay in your happy bubble, like it's a saying, it protects you, it's just a mental space. Yes, but like it just one of those, like, if anybody doesn't think that life is hard and that they're living in their little happy bubble and nothing's going to happen to them, they're just so wrong. And I think that's the biggest misconception of people, is that they think if you walk around smiling and you look happy, that you're not allowed to have a bad day. You're not allowed to be in a bad mood. And that gets put on me a lot, because people will say, oh, I knew she wasn't that nice. And I'm like, I'm human. Just because I choose to smile and I choose to be happy and stay in that space, it doesn't mean that that's me 24/7. Like, that's impossible. And so there's like that, like, people think, well, you can't smile and then everything must be going okay. Like, you can't have things going wrong if you're smiling, or you smile all the time and now you have a grouchy face and your energy's like, oh, I knew I knew it wasn't true. I knew like that she was fake or something. And that's the thing, is that we're human. The goal is to stay in the happy bubble and to be in there as much as possible, but not like it's impossible to think that you're gonna be happy 24/7. Like that's just impossible. But we can guard our heart, guard our our bubble, our aura, to be able to stay in there as much as possible. I think that's really the goal.
Yes, stay in the happy bubble. How do people practice that?
It's a conscious effort for sure. And so after my talk, I'm like, Elisha, you got a lot of work to do, which we all do. Like when we don't have any more work on ourselves to do, that's it. We're not here anymore. So we always have room for improvement. I'm always trying to fix me, not fix everybody else, because I know if I fix me and work on me, everything else around me just gets easier. And that's also what people are like, well, if they behave this way and this person acts the way I think they should act, then I'll be happy. And then they're never happy because, of course, you can't. It's you. And so I'm always like, well, okay, I'm really good at staying in my happy bubble and understand, okay, well, people are going through stuff and, they're doing the best that they could do for the tools that they have in their tool belt. But then there's certain things in my life that I just it's the hardest spots for me to stay in my happy bubble. And I think, why? Is it because I want these things to not bother me so bad that they bother me the most? And I think it's the caring side of it all, your family, because that's who you love the most. So that's who you try the hardest to change them, I guess, and we can't. So my whole talk has pushed me to stop trying to change even my husband, our kids, and not change okay, if you just be this way, but those things that our other halves do, because I drive Lewis crazy too, and this is recorded, so now he's gonna see, you said it right now, but it's normal. But we just focus so much on those things instead of they're doing the best that they can today. It's not personal, and really has made me look at, because how can I say keep your happy bubble activated, but then I let little things bug me with my family. So it's really made me try even harder and do the deep work on me to why those things bug me. So that way I can be my happy bubble even longer. Yeah.
That's amazing. So you did this TED Talk, TEDx, and what happened? It's opened up doors. What kind of doors?
So yes, it's always going to open doors, but I would say one of the biggest, where I was like, okay, I did, that's it. This is exactly why I did this. And how earlier I said about, if this just touches one person, that's it. You did your job. And I had a young lady reach out to me through Facebook Messenger. And she's like, Elisha, I was at I was at TEDx Ocala, and I listened to your talk, and the whole way home, all I kept thinking was, okay, keep activating your happy bubble. Stay in your happy bubble, because she's been going through a lot of things, and she's in her early 20s, and she's like, I've been going to therapy, and I've been all these things, and she's like, and then here I hear you say this about staying in your happy bubble, and it was that clue, that one little trigger in my head that kept making her talk to herself. And she had gone a couple of weeks where she was doing so much better, and she's like, I just wanted to reach out and tell you thank you for sharing that and just reminding me that I have to tell myself all the time and say it out loud, okay, activate your happy bubble, or happy bubble activated, right? And so I was like, well, that's it. And I was just kind of in tears, because I was like, that's it. That's what it's all about, is, that one person. And sometimes it's something so simple that we overcomplicate things to get us, out of something or to the next level, whatever it is. And it's usually just something so simple. And it really is that simple to activate your happy bubble. And I mean, it could be anything. Some people, you don't have to walk around oh, I'm in my happy bubble, like looking silly. But whatever it takes to trigger your mind into that zone, you got to do it because no one else is going to be able to do it for you. And then,
Nobody else is going to be able to do it for you. But things get heavy on us, right? Things that were out of our control weigh on us. And how can we activate that happy bubble when you feel like you want to throw up, your stomach's in that much knots?
It's hard, believe me. Like I know, and I know how hard that is. And that's the thing, like it's just because it's the happy bubble, it doesn't mean you're gonna feel happy inside it. And I think it's more of the strength that we build. Like in my mind, that bubble is the protective barrier of my peace, my obviously happiness, peace, joy, like all those good things. And then that protective barrier to keep all the negative out, but it doesn't mean that you're not going to feel it and you're not going to be sad and you're not going to feel like, what in the world am I doing? And want to give up because, I felt like that. So there's some days where I'm like, still, like, what am I doing? Right? But,
Sure.
And actually, I was actually listening to Mel Robbins this morning because it was one of those, and I was like, okay, I need a little dose of Mel this morning to shake me up. And she was saying, if anyone thinks that life is just going to be easy, like, you need to wake up because life is hard. And it's okay to say, like, this sucks. Like, today just sucks. Like, it's okay. Like, it doesn't mean that you're throwing in the towel. But if you don't get it out and you're not honest with yourself, how do you get past anything? And I'm like, yeah, it's so true. Because we're like, oh, like, don't be negative. But it's like, you're not saying, well, screw it all, like, I'm done, and I'm never going to try this again, or forget everybody depending on me. You're like, no, you're like, this is hard. But everything worth it is never easy. And that's something I talk to our kids about almost on a daily basis. Because, they come home and like, oh, this happened at my work. They have their little jobs. 2 of the 3 already had their little teenager jobs. And, oh, this happened. And I'm like, okay, and so what do you think that's teaching you? And right, and it's always, anything worth it isn't easy because they like their little job, so they have a little extra spending money and get to, do things that they, or have stuff that, that mom and dad are not going to do for them. And so then that's worth it to them. But then it's not going to be easy. And it's like everything, like what we do with real estate. How many agents think, I'll be a realtor because I like HGTV and like I can do that. And we're like, you have no idea. But we get up every day and we keep doing it. Like we didn't run away from it. We just kept at it, as crazy as it is, because we know it's worth it. And for some reason, we're supposed to be here. It was yesterday, yeah. It was this morning. There's so many. But, as the real estate broker and having agents under you, like I have the greatest agents. They're just awesome. But remember, they're human. And so one was complaining, and I'm here like, no, I did not miss their call. And I always like go over and over about how to get a hold of me. And it's always the same thing. Just text me. If we have to talk, we'll talk. But just text me because my phone never stops ringing. So if I leave the ringer on, right, it just rings all day long. So text me and we'll figure it out. Well, of course, this agent doesn't text me. And I've only gone over, 10 times in a year. Still does not text me. And I was just feeling like, gosh, where's the disconnect? Like, what's my personal responsibility in this? Like, where did I cause any of this? And I'm like, maybe I should have that on a sign in the office. Like, if you need Elisha, text her. Like, I don't know, because I've never had anyone not been able to just text me. And then I have another agent that she emails me. She had gotten a lead and she emails me and she's like, Elisha, she's like, I just want you to know that there's not a day that goes by that I don't count my blessings to have you as my broker, because I'm on a deal right now and the other side is a broker. And she's like, all I could think of is, how in the world are they a broker? Because my broker doesn't behave this way. Like, my broker's knowledgeable. She's kind to people, even though she can get her point across. And she's like, I just want you to know how much I appreciate you. And I was like, oh, Thank you. Like, because for a second I thought, okay, like I'm doing something wrong if this agent can't text me, right? And then here, God has that way of reminding you, like, no, 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 you're good. Like, but you don't have control of other people and other people's perception and like what's going on in their life that they're like that information is not getting into their head. And so that was and then I had got the little reminder on my phone of our um, us right now, our meeting, and I thought, yeah, Alicia, like your happy bubble, like, and I was like that close to let this other agent kind of pop my happy bubble just a smidge. But then I had all those reminders too. But I said, okay, you're human, right? If I was a human, I would have no feelings. So it's just a constant reminder every day that we have to remind ourselves, like, wait, stay here, and somebody else might say something different, might not be happy bubble, right? But whatever it is that, like a mantra, a phrase that just reminds you to get back in that mental zone because life is hard, for sure.
That is for sure. And we tend to overcomplicate things too, humans.
Oh yeah, all the time.
But there are reminders. There's little
Oh yeah,
reminders. You
yeah,
have to be being open to them, being open to hearing and seeing them.
yeah. That's so true. It's the whole paying attention. And years ago, there was this couple that used to be agents with us. Gosh, probably like almost 10 years ago. And what the wife, she always say, there's a message in every conversation if you're actually paying attention. And that always stuck with me because, like, I pay attention, but that comment, that what she said, made me from that day always be paying attention to my conversations. And if I walk away and I didn't like immediately figure it out, like what was the reason I had that conversation, like there was a message there, like I've trained my brain to, okay, what was the point of that meeting today, what was the point of that encounter, that conversation, there's a message there somewhere and I got to figure it out because there is. But most people are like la la la, walking around like, oh, that was nice, and they move on and they're not thinking about what just happened. Even agents on listing appointments, even if they get the listing, should be driving away like, okay, what happened there that can help me grow for the next time? And they should be thinking about those things, not just turning on the radio and jamming out and on their way back to the office. They have the happy dance for a few minutes though.
Yeah, I think that we as humans don't like rejection or pain very much.
Mm-hmm.
And so on to the next thing. Let's just bury that over there.
Right, yeah. But it's like crazy how
Throw it in
back up
throw
again.
it throw it in the closet, throw it in the junk drawer. Right?
Yeah,
And then one day you open your closet and everything comes flying out at you. Emotional metaphor for meltdown.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I'm guilty of it. We all are. And you're like, oh yeah, I probably should have dealt with that sooner instead of running ourselves into the ground and not dealing with it. And some, I guess, deal with it better than others. And it's tough. That's that whole, life is hard thing for sure. I heard the other day, was it Matthew Ferry? I was listening to one of his podcasts, and he talks about enlightenment, and like enlightenment is where you find true peace. That's where, like, it doesn't matter what's going on around you, that you can be calm, really, with anything going on, calm in the storm. And so obviously that intrigues me greatly because I feel like that's the ultimate success, is to be okay with whatever's going on. And he was saying,
So
like,
we call that amore fati,
yes.
love, the love of fate itself.
Yep. Yeah. And like, I want that, right? Don't we all want that? Because I mean, that's the happy bubble. That's being able to just be okay, even though everything around you is not okay. Because when we do that, then really everything's okay. Because when we're not okay, nothing's okay around us. Like, we make a mess out of everything, and all our dreams, our aspirations, whoever's counting on us, they're not getting 100% of us because we're allowing outside influences to pop our happy bubble. So
Goes back to when you're on the airplane and the oxygen mask comes flying down, who's you put on first?
mm-hmm.
So if we don't take care of ourselves, we can certainly be sure that we can't take care of anybody else.
Yep.
So I think that full circle is the premise of this discussion.
Mm-hmm.
And it's taking care of yourself physically, mentally, emotionally,
Mm-hmm.
and protecting yourself from the outside influences. Even though they are going to be there because life happens. As you said, you're moving. Kids do this, husband does that, client does that, agent does that, right? Well, it goes back to, how do we react? How do we handle it? How do we keep calm and peace of ourselves when everything else could be crumbling around us?
Yeah, and it's perception. That's the thing. It's just all, like, everyone has their own perception of things. And so why is it that we think ours is the right one? And, I hear that was what with Matthew Fair, like, what he talks about. And I'm just like, yes, because that's the thing. Like, when we get mad at others or upset because someone's not behaving the way we think they should behave, it's like, wait a second, like, who said, first of all, you're right to begin with? And then I'm like, oh, yeah, that's true. And you're like, kind of embarrassed. You're like, okay, yeah, that's me too. But we all do it because we're conditioned one way. And then we think everybody should be acting the way we say. But who says how we act is correct? There's just no right or wrong. Nobody's right, nobody's wrong. Everything is just perception. And if you really, like, think of things, like anything that happens in that sense, how do you get upset? Because now it's like you're just as bad as the next person. Then if you're upset that they're not doing what you think they should be doing because for some reason you think you're right. And it's funny because, he talks about like, okay, you're not God. And so, like, God did not put you in place to go around and be like, okay, you're my helper. Like, you're wrong. Like, no, that none of us get that. Like, we're not given that role at all. We're just supposed to understand people. Yeah.
Goes back to have it coming from the heart.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Absolutely,
yes.
Have it coming from the heart. Mm-hmm. Heart to heart, human to human, and one foot in front of the other, one day at a time.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes 100 steps back and then 1 foot in front of the other again. You keep at it, right?
You keep at it.
Yeah.
You got another TEDx talk in you?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like, now I know, like, I've been through it, and then there's still things going on that haven't, like, I'm on the other side of crazy life stuff, but they're not completely finished. And so when those things are, like, actually done, that I'm allowed to talk, like, I could freely talk about it. Like, there's a good TED talk in there and a book and everything. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. That's why I'm like, what? Like, you just cannot even make this stuff up, some of this stuff. But that's the thing, like, anybody that is, we're all capable of greatness. It's just some of us, I just think, have maybe more guts than others because we all have fear. Everybody's scared of everything. But just some people are just like, oh, well, I'm going to be scared, but I do it anyway, right? As crappy as I feel that day, or if I think why am I even doing this? But I don't know, there's just, that greatness is in all of us. I'm no different than anybody. It's just, I say, okay, I'm going to do it. Like, obviously I'm supposed to be here, or else this opportunity will come across my path. So you have to do it and not even really think about it. And yeah, any of us that could write a book, it's because we had the guts to keep going.
There is greatness in all of us, Elisha.
Absolutely.
This has been a really great talk today, and very much needed. Very much needed. I appreciate you, and I value our friendship so much. And I'm so grateful for you coming on today and sharing your TEDx story. It was a beautiful story.
Thank
And
you.
can't wait to hear what's in store. I know there's a lot that's coming down, so I can't wait to hear about it.
Awesome.
Right.
Thank you. And, I love you and appreciate you too. And it's been way too long. We have to do these things more often.
Way too long.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.